Okay, hey Liz.
This is Margaret.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can you
James
hear me?
an email from Margaret. So.
Okay, so we've got two on the phone and Taylor in his car finally. Is that, hey Levi?
You're good
Is
to go
that,
for mine, Steve.
Yeah, I think you're good to go now. You got a quorum.
Okay, I just had a couple of us there for a minute.
Yeah.
So James not here tonight?
No, I'm taking over for the.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
He gave me the light load tonight.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and call this to order. Let me get my paperwork back to where it needs to be. And we'll allow for a little delay on the two on the phone. Well, three, I guess, with Taylor, because we usually it takes a second sometimes. So let's kind of, Emily, you and I'll kind of listen for them when it happens. I guess I'll welcome everybody to the December edition of the Conway Historic District Commission. And first thing we'll do is everything's gonna be short. We have a short number of people here too, so we'll call our roll. I'm Steve Hurd, Chairman.
Emily Walter, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Looks like we lost
Margaret West.
Thank you, Margaret. Liz, you there? I'm sorry. I usually call the names. And
Normally you do, yeah.
Sorry. Liz, you want to say hey?
Liz Hamilton. I'm here.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd change it up every time, just keep you guys on your toes. And we know Taylor is around in the Deerwoods somewhere. He just disappeared again. So when he gets a signal back, we'll have him. We have plenty. Four of us. We can make a determination on there's Shelby.
Yeah, hi everybody. I was stuck in the attendee spot for a couple of minutes, and my Wi-Fi is going in and out, so hopefully I stay.
Well, we'll make do. Hopefully this won't be a long meeting. The first thing we have are the minutes from last month. If everybody's had a chance to look at them, if we could have a determination on those, then move on real quick.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay. A motion from Emily. Anybody with a second?
Second, Margaret.
Okay, Margaret, thank you. A motion, a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna wait. If I ask for a vote, I'm gonna wait plenty of time for everybody to get their ayes or nays in. Okay, the first thing we have, we have one item tonight from 2009 Prince Street, and I'm assuming one of the two Blake Day names I see is gonna or both gonna talk. But just real quick, what we do normally is introduce yourself and your address where you currently live, and then just tell us a few things. Tell us what what you want to do, and we've got our packet that explains details, but then we'll probably have some questions for you and discuss it. So if there's someone here to speak on that, best I guess Blake or whoever a day could speak on this, we'd appreciate it. And either we're on mute or we're not hearing you. Anybody?
Do we have a line that can speak on the application?
Do what now?
I was just asking if we have anyone line that can speak on the application.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2009 Prince Street.
Yeah, if we have a Mr. or Mrs. Day, I see Blake Day's name twice on here, so there's two connections, but we're not. If they're broadcasting right here, anything.
They're allowed to speak, so it's not from the Zoom end of things.
Right. Well, I mean, these days, this 2020 can't get over fast enough. I'm so tired.
Hey, Aaron, can you
Really?
I see one of the Blake Days is muted. Can you manually unmute them as the host?
I cannot. I can ask them to unmute, but I can't.
Maybe we should do that if they don't know where the mute button is.
Yeah, try that and we'll see. We've not had this issue, so I don't know. I guess at some point
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll try. I'll just promote them to panelist and see if that.
Okay.
They're in as a panelist.
So Mr. or Mrs. Day or Blake, whoever is Blake Day, in your bottom left-hand corner, there should be a mute button, and you should be able to click that, and it should unmute you so you can talk. Levi, do we happen to have like their cell phone number or anything that we could call and see what's going on?
Let me take a look and see what they provide in the application.
And do we know if somebody's actually online, Aaron? I mean, does
Somebody
everybody
just-
know that?
He just unmuted. One of those did.
Right. You're right.
Well, we still can't hear anything.
Uh-uh.
It
And I
seems-
can't, we
This might be a
can't,
speaker issue.
we can't go through it and everything with them just, they're not able to say a word. It's not necessarily their fault in this case, it's a technology thing, but it's like we have, like they didn't show up almost. I'm not knocking them for this problem, but that's kind of how we have to treat it, I believe. If we don't get a resolution here.
And I know also when Aaron sent out the invitation, there should be a call-in number. So if they're trying to log in from a computer and that's not working, they also have the option to use that number on a cell phone to access the meeting, which is like what Liz and
Right.
and Margaret are doing. So
Right.
that might be an option as well if they can find that invitation from Aaron.
We do have a telephone number, it looks like, on the application, so they can. So Aaron, I don't know if we can we call in to that number from the meeting?
I don't have a way to call out to them. No.
Okay, I didn't know if that's possible.
Well, Levi's, what is the number? And I'll try to call them and just see what's going on.
Sure, the number they provided is actually,
I was gonna say, can you put it in the chat? So
yeah, I don't know. You just rattle off this person's phone number.
Oh yeah, that you can private message me in the chat and I can call it. I have my cell phone with me.
And I think, we need to have a kind of a cutoff time, I guess, since it's just hanging out here for who knows how long. So let's try to get a hold of them, Shelby, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know when I get the cell phone
Okay.
number or
Okay.
number, whatever the number is.
Levi, is there anything there's nothing else on the agenda, is there, for us to, I think.
he said, we're trying to get you, please call. And he gave a phone number in the chat. Sorry to interrupt, Steve.
Okay,
that's
I'm
fine,
gonna give
that's
them a
fine.
call real quick and talk to him.
Or have we done, we don't do nominations yet until next year, right? For
nominations for what?
positions.
Oh, normally January if we remember, then March, April if we don't remember. That's my recollection every year, and sometimes we forget it completely. But no, which means everybody just carries on with what they're doing. So yeah, we'll talk about that in January.
Okay.
Yeah, with the new members and all that, we'll get that taken care of. And I'd mentioned to James, I want to try to get the two new ones, not in person, but anybody's invited to a little primer on what we do while we're here. And usually people get on here kind of know that, but it's just kind of how we operate, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
We haven't scheduled that yet, so before our January meeting, we're going to try to do that. We'll let y'all know if anybody's interested in joining in, but it'll be me blathering on a little bit, and I'll try to defer to James as much as I can. So that I don't.
Aaron or Levi, were they invited to this meeting?
Hi everybody, I just talked to the Days. They are on and they just can't get their sound to work. So you'll see in the chat I put the call-in information. So they have that phone number.
Okay.
They can use that first phone number and then that ID and the passcode if needed. So they should be calling in shortly.
Okay, thanks, Shelby.
No problem.
Well, let's give it a few more minutes.
Yeah, it might take a second because they have to use that call-in number and then they have to type in those long
Right,
IDs and passcodes. So
Emily, you were asking if the 2 new members were invited to tonight's meeting?
Yeah. We talked about inviting them on the last one. So
I know.
They
You know
weren't on the
anything
list
about
that
that?
Lauren sent over, no.
okay.
Okay, we're here. Can you hear us?
yay!
Yay.
Here.
Yay.
Thanks for
Oh,
sticking with it.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay, well, before we lose anybody, let's go ahead and get started. I don't know if you heard me earlier, if we can just get a name and address of where you currently live, and then just present what what you're trying to do, and we'll discuss it from there. Okay.
Okay, so our name's Blake and Jennifer Day. We live at 6 Cedar Hill Road in Conway. And the property we purchased is 2009 Prince Street. Do you want to talk about what you want to do?
Well, I know you've got the proposal of what we wanted to do. All we wanted to do was, we like that street. We're both from Conway. We've lived in Conway our entire lives. And we just wanted that house to look like most of the rest of the houses on that street and the neighboring streets. So
we've had 2 neighbors come up and say they thought that what we purchased was actually an outbuilding for the house next door because it was so grown up and covered up.
Nobody could even see the house. So we came in there the first day and cleared away all the brush and debris, and we were just going to make the outside of the house look like the house across the street, the house right next door, the house at the end of the street on the right. We just wanted it to appear like those houses. We're fine with doing the ribbon driveway if that's what we need to do, but because the brick, we're having to add brick to the back of the house where someone in the past had just plywooded up a wall, and there's several areas that we have to fix the mortar, that we wanted to paint the brick, and also that's the new modern thing to do. And like I said, the house right next to it's painted, so we were hoping to get to paint it. And we checked with Sherwin-Williams today, and Sherwin-Williams told us as long as we use Loxon primer and the Sherwin-Williams latex paint, not the oil-based, but the latex, that it had no destructive properties in it, it would not hurt the brick.
But then there was like a carport also. There's one on the back of it right now that's semi-attached that looks like it's just going to fall down. And there's no backyard because of the size of the carport that's there now. And the original carport to the house originally is at the end of the driveway. You pull straight in the driveway and straight back, and there's a concrete pad there where there was an original carport before somebody added the one to the back of the house. And with the carport in the backyard, there is no room at all for a backyard. We were just going to do a small deck in the backyard. And that's really it. The shutters, the reason we were wanting to do shutters, because there's other houses on the street that have shutters, and we're wanting to tie in the post of the carport to the shutters of the house. We're wanting that to all be not necessarily a barn style, but more of a rough cut craftsman style structure at the same pitch of the house, so that it all looks like it belongs.
Okay, anybody have any questions before I talk about painted brick?
Will this be your primary residence?
No, we have way too many kids to live there, unfortunately. I think it's such a cute area. We just can't put our family in there.
So will you be selling it or renting it or what?
Selling it.
Probably selling it, yeah.
If I could talk about the painted brick.
Yes, sir.
The thing, we have unfortunately a fad right now is painting old brick houses, and it's being done without a whole lot of help. Paint company, I'm not trying to sell you paint, so I'm not going to tell you one thing or another about the quality of paint or whatever, but an older house, old brick, is going to suffer really quickly with paint. I don't care, the primer, the latex, all that's fine. What brick is made to do is breathe. And anything, especially the older brick, it's a softer brick. Any moisture held in that brick from the inside of the house coming out or outside coming in, any moisture held in that brick and not allowed to get out in the normal way it's been doing since the day it was put up, it's going to, first off, it's going to cause the paint to start flaking off. And I think the American Brick Institute recommends if you paint brick, to paint it every 3 to 4 years, because it's going to start flaking. It's just, once you paint it. Modern brick, new brick is fine to paint, because it's a lot harder than the old brick. The old brick, once it does start getting clogged up with the paint, you're going to get the freeze thaw cycle we have in this state almost daily through winter. It depends on just different things. When the paint holds the water in, the water's going to stay in, going to freeze, going to thaw. You're going to start the brick's going to start failing, and it's going to spall off. And it won't happen all at one time or tomorrow, but it starts a fast degradation of the brick. And I can't answer to the cuteness of the painted houses, the painted brick. A lot of them were done in our guidelines. It says not to paint unpainted brick. People have done it. You don't have to have a building permit, so that's happened without us being able to stop them. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, we're unfortunately don't have the rules pinning that down. We have had some new houses built out of brick. They painted them. We had no problem with that because of what I just said about modern brick. The old brick, it's once it's painted, you can almost never get the paint off if that ever becomes an issue. The brick was used as a color, as a finished material, and we don't dictate color on things, but the color is what it is. That's what it was built as, and one thing we're kind of holding ourselves to is preserving our neighborhood that everybody thinks is so nice and so such a nice little place. And we paint our brick like the one across the street. We paint our brick like the one on the other street. We suddenly have a bunch of pale white houses and no real memory or history of what we came from. And it's just, they look great in pictures, look great on Pinterest and all, but I guarantee you everyone that's on Pinterest is not in a historic district. It's just, it's just a bad thing. Sherwin-Williams is they have nice paint. Another paint company tell you the same thing, but primarily that's for more modern brick that can handle the weather different than older brick. And this is from the 30s, I believe. Is that what I think any pre-40s or even 40s is what, from there on back is what brick needs to be protected, not painted. Repointing the mortar, that's a simple thing to do with the right mortar. But I will argue against painting of the brick, period. We were not asked about the one that you show as a adjacent property. And that was out of our hands, and it's unfortunate, and it will never be what it was. So I guess the idea of everybody looking exactly the same seems a little odd to me and against what we're doing here in the historic district. But so that's my thing on brick. Anybody else have anything else to add or tell me to shut up or whatever? But
I'll jump in as well as far as the authenticity of the brick. I think the historic neighborhood is really enriched by the diversity and the richness of the different styles of homes and the different materials that were used over the time. And I don't know, I agree. I don't think the painted brick was always a good idea. When we have an opportunity to review a project, we always want to make sure that the integrity of the neighborhood is upheld. And I can't speak to the one that was across the street or next door or wherever it was that was painted, but I agree with Steve in terms of if we have a voice to make a case against painted brick, I think I would jump on that bandwagon.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say?
I concur.
Pardon?
I agree.
I said I agree. The architects say it best, but you say what I need to say.
Yeah.
But I agree 100%.
Okay. There also was I believe one of the doors, the side facing door on the porch is to be removed. Is that?
Partially
that-
enclosed and replaced with a window.
Yeah. Okay. So that, okay.
Yeah, I had some questions about, I think we went over a lot of what was in the recommendations. But I did want to just make sure that the other recommendations, that we didn't need to discuss them any further, like the planting of the 2 canopy trees in the front yard. Like Steve said, that side facing front entrance would be enclosed and replaced with a window, using the 1/1 windows for all windows that are added or replaced, and all the windows in the rear addition, requiring the use of hardy board material to cover the home. And I think we've talked about the shutters, though I don't know if we've given our opinion on the shutter. As a council, the shutters are not, but it does say in the recommendations that shutters shall not be added to the structure.
Right.
HVAC equipment placed in a manner that is to minimize visibility. And then I think we've covered the painting of the brick pretty well. But as far as any of those other items, did you all have any concerns about those recommendations?
Well, as far as the go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to stop you. I just the thing about the fascia, the soffits, they're. I mean, we were going to leave it like it was.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that was
okay.
only if you were going to remove it and add new material.
Okay.
Yeah. We're
I've
not
got a couple
going
of
to
things.
take something off to put something, not quite the same on. That's if you were add on to replace, you might find some rotten stuff. The easiest thing is if you've got some rotten wood next to good wood, put new wood on the rotten. But if if there was a reason to kind of tear into it pretty good because of whatever, those are the 2 choices: the hardy board or the wood. And sometimes it's easier to go back with real wood because it matches everything. It just goes and you paint it and you go on. But sometimes we've had people want to like wrap it in vinyl or do whatever. So that sentence is usually in there. So if that makes sense, we weren't telling you got to use hardy board even when you've got stuff that's okay to be there. Don't worry about that. But
Okay. We can tear down
trying to think.
shed. So the shed behind the house, remove that.
I'm sorry, what?
The shed behind the house, we can remove that.
Yeah, I
The
don't have any problem with that. Do we?
It's not
Leave-
original
we're
to
not-
the
there's no-
structure anyway.
Yeah, there's no demolition issue as far as that goes, is there, Levi?
Okay.
No, there's not.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what this commission's here to approve, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're fine with that. I mean, again, I'm sorry, we have one item and I'm still, it's like I've been trying to read 20 of them, but now you're going to be adding a carport back, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's where that's probably part of why the hardy board part was in there. If wood was not done, hardy board, so it looks like wood. That's where we're wanting to go with that. If you decide to do that on a new carport, that's what I think that's part of why that sentence was in there.
Okay.
I have a
And the
couple of questions about the carport.
Margaret, was that you?
Yes. Okay, on the carport, are you going to do the exposed rafter tails to match the ones on the front of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that would look great. And let's see, I've got a list here. You were talking about what you were going to use for post for the carport. I was wondering if it would be appropriate to use brick columns for that, kind of to match that one on the front porch there on the front left. Kind of tied in. You were talking about wanting to tie in the carport with the house, and that was with regard to the shutters, I think. But since you can't do the shutters, I was just thinking if you could tie it in by using the same type brick column on the carport that you have up here on the front porch, that might be an idea.
We can. My only concern, number one, I don't know where we're going to find brick anywhere around that's going to come close to matching
Right.
that brick. And I think there's enough there maybe to do the back wall of the house, and that was honestly kind of one of the main reasons that we were wanting to paint it, is because I don't know how we can make all that match. The only other idea that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, as far as matching, it's on the back of the house. If it's pretty close, it can't be seen from the street, and that's the main concern, is driving down the street and seeing, if you had splotchy brick on the front of the house, that's a different thing. But that would be fine. What I was going to offer with the carport was, it's not going to be attached to the house, right? It's going to pretty much be detached completely from the house, correct?
Detached, yes, sir.
Okay. Margaret, my observation on that was, if it was attached to the house, I might go towards a brick column, tying in like that. Detached from the house, I think, and there's already one there that it didn't have brick columns. The way that what they're proposing is pretty similar to what was there, but just cleaned up and usable.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of a tie-in to the house, since he had
Sure.
mentioned that before.
Well, I think like I said, the roof pitch will match, and the color, painting and all that stuff will match. So I think it'll. I'm good with the wood posts. I think that's okay.
Miss Margaret, can I ask this? What if we took the brick column off the front and did a great big wood post to make the carport then tie into the house?
Nah.
I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah, no, let's don't. Yeah, I hope you're just being funny, but no, I think keeping the house intact and this carport, carports were secondary if they weren't attached, part of the built with the house. They were secondary. A lot of most of them barely survived to this time, and I think as a standalone piece, I think that what they propose is okay, in my opinion.
Okay.
Don't take that column off the house. Please. To me, it's a handsome little house. I mean, it wasn't built by an oil baron, it was a good, solid subdivision home for the 30s, that we have a lot of that around. And, but it's got that offset porch off the center, and it's with a good substantial brick column, and it's a handsome house. I mean, it really sits nicely, and cleaning up stuff like you're doing, getting the wood painted, new carport. It's going to be a cute house. I mean, really, it's going to be a nice house. One thing we haven't talked about is the handrail. As I recall, there was a design of a handrail for that, I believe.
Yeah. Did you
The
want to
wire
do
railing on the thing. I don't.
wood?
So anybody have?
I will say this. We might want to address it today. Otherwise we'll run into what we did at 820 Center Street. Is if they're selling this house and there's a VA or FHA loan, they're going to require a handrail.
Well, right. And I was assuming if it's handrail being built, it's going to meet, code that's necessary. But actually, if you're less than, Liz, back me up here. If you're less than 30 inches,
30
above
inches.
the ground, you don't have to handle
Yeah.
handrail.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
30 inches.
Yeah.
Is that
So, I mean,
30 inches?
that technically doesn't even, by code, doesn't need a handrail. So I was meaning more addressing the type handrail. It's a modern wire railing type thing. Is that appropriate for the house? I'm asking that to my commissioners.
I don't think it is.
You have a picture of what it's going to look like, the wire railing? I mean, are you talking?
But it's
Is it like cable?
I mean, I see the drawing, but I didn't know if there's an actual picture.
I'm sorry. It was going to be like 1.5 inch top rail, 1.5 inch bottom rail, and cable in between it. But I mean, if that won't we can do iron. That have to be cable. That was just, we liked the house across the street and it had cable. So that's why I thought, and that is the modern look, which may be too modern for that.
Well, yeah. Again, I'm an architect, and I do new stuff, mess with old stuff. And I mean, modern. I have no problem with modern stuff. It's sometimes a again, a stable, handsome house, it can be some modern stuff can be forced on it, and we end up with kind of a, an odd language created with the house. And I'm not saying that would be this case, but I'm thinking, I don't know, I'd love to see a picture if there was ever an original, but it was probably a wood rail, but I'm not going to hold to that having to be the case either. But I think, like you're talking with the kind of a wrought iron kind of, type construction instead of the cables is where I think that's where I would be comfortable going to. And I'm throwing my thoughts out there for everybody else to hear. And
No, I agree. I completely agree. I think wrought iron's the way to go. Versus
that can be
cable.
painted, that can be an accent color, or it can be, whatever it can be. And it's got both. It's got a modern look, plus it's kind of back to the, the 30s, 40s kind of. It's not, not unusual for that to maybe have been done. So to me, it helps kind of blend, if you will.
Was there a railing on the house originally? I mean, are we thinking we're going to need one for code or for potential VA loan type things, or like, why are we trying to add a railing if there wasn't one to begin with?
No, we don't have to.
Did y'all hear the question?
We just thought it would need one.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Well, and that's.
I actually think with a step no steeper than that. I mean, this porch looks like my front porch. There's one step, and then you take your next step up, and you are on the porch. And mine does not have a rail, and it hasn't been an issue.
Well, like I was saying,
that.
Building code is if it's less than 30 inches, which that I would assume that's about 18 inches or so. If it's less than 30, by code, you don't need a rail. I know sometimes like FHA stuff, that code doesn't mean a whole lot. They want what they want, but at the same time, when I had small children, that right there was plenty of me to be scared of them falling off and hurting themselves. So I don't, the handrail, I totally, it to me, it helps. It probably helps a lot of things down the road, but I'm not gonna argue to have a rail or not. But you're not required to have one by building code, but future, if you sell it, you may be required to put one on when the time comes.
Yeah.
But more than anything,
I must cross that bridge when it happens.
Yeah, to backing away from the cable, going to at least the wrought iron would be my preference, and maybe more verticals than horizontals, because again, that's more what would have been done at any point. The rail, the cable, you got to go horizontal. That's just the way it works. But I would be tempted to do more of a vertical pieces with your, like it's broken up there, but have the smaller pickets in between, going up to the top rail, and that kind of more traditional rail. But that's my offer on that. Everybody please, jump in.
If you're thinking about just as far as looks, if you just kind of feel like it needs something to not look so plain, one thing that you see around our part of town is like the concrete planters, urn type or little box square type concrete planters on each side of those front steps. And I think that would kind of, dress it up a little bit if you're just worried about aesthetics.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you tell if on the brick there was ever a handrail that had been attached to the brick?
There had been at one time, yes.
Okay. And it was probably built with the house. It was probably 2x material and the type thing. But I wasn't going to dig my heels in and say it's got to be exactly what would have been done when it was built. But like I said, I think going towards the cable was a little far. But and it's your option to even have a handrail by code. Like Emily's saying, it may be required by underwriters for somebody buying the thing. So I can't speak to that, but
we'll probably just leave it off then.
Well, that's fine. It like I said, you may sell it and nobody ever have a question with it, but one buyer that wants to buy it, but they have to put a handrail. There's where you start negotiating, I guess. But that's yours to work on then. That's your call. If you don't want a handrail, that's fine. By code, you got two architects here telling me by code, that's fine not to have a handrail. I'm not signing anything, but that's what we're told by code. But, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any other parts and pieces to talk about?
I think by the time you get landscaping in, some shrubs around the front and stuff, I think it'll look really cute.
Okay.
Okay.
Shelby, you
Yes,
still
ma'am.
there?
Sorry, what was that, Steve?
Yeah, I just was making sure you were still there. I saw your picture, but I wasn't sure. And you were saying you had a
Yes,
bad signal.
I've been making notes and
Okay.
I need to, okay, let's clear this up a little bit before we make a motion. So we decided against the handrail. So I'm going to remove the handrail discussion, or do we want to include that if there is a handrail, we will require use of
Yes.
wrought iron? How do we want to?
Yeah, do that. Let
That's
them have,
correct.
Yeah, do
they
that.
decide to actually put it on. That pins it down what we're saying. That's fine.
Okay,
It's
so
their option not to do it.
okay, if a handrail is constructed, it will be wrought iron. Okay. And then I think that, like I said, we talked about the brick. I do think that for the shutters, that's something, have we discussed the shutters? Do we all agree no shutters will be added to the structure? Does anybody
Yeah.
have any opinions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's part of our
It's become kind of standard because they're
Yeah.
shutters. First off, they're not something that this region uses, as far as how shutters are used. They're always nailed onto the building, and they never, if you actually close them, they wouldn't close over a window. So that, they're pure decorative, and they're not, if the house didn't have them before, I don't, it's not necessary and, or accurate or whatever, however you want to call it. So yeah, we've taken a line on no shutters, unless they're working shutters that can actually function like shutters.
I feel like on a positive note, we've saved a lot of money tonight.
We have.
You're welcome.
Well, I thank you, I guess. The only issue for us is we're selling this to make money for our family.
Well, we appreciate that. We're not brokers here, but still, the neighborhood is a special place. I mean, several of us live here and in the actual neighborhood, and we're here to, I guess, protect it, if you will. And I don't mean protect it like but it's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's easy to get caught up in the current tide of things and whatever that may be. And we kind of need to back up and look at those things, because that's something we deal with then later on, or the next one that comes or whatever. And that house across the street, technically illegally painted their house. We're suffering, you're suffering from it now by not being able to paint your house. But it wasn't allowed when they did it. And it's just, so we've had a couple happen like that. And then we get people referring, we want to do ours like the one across the street. Well, that's not how we're supposed to do things. So we're, again, hoping, not trying to sound like a hammer and keeping you doing stuff, but it's just, I think it's a handsome house. I mean, the brick, I love brick, and I love brick that's, it's original and is in pretty good shape. And this older house, you may have some issues here and there with mortar joints and things like that, but it's something that can be dealt with. So anyway, I got off on what I was trying to say, I think, but we appreciate
Steve, I'm going to make a motion because I think we worked through everything that we needed to. So I'll motion to approve the project with the recommendations as follows. Construction will be carried out with the manner consistent with the plans, with the exception of these conditions, which I'm going to share. You must plant 2 canopy trees in the front yard. That side-facing front entrance should be partially enclosed and replaced with a window. Require true 1/1 windows for all windows that are added or replaced, or any windows on the rear addition. Require that if you do have any issues with your soffits, that they would be in construction of hardy board. But like we said, that's just only if they need to be replaced. Shutters shall not be added to the structure. The HVAC equipment will be placed in a manner to minimize its visibility from the street. Painting of the brick will not be permitted. And then if you do decide to construct a handrail, it should be constructed of wrought iron. And I think I hit everything that we discussed with
That
that.
sounds right.
I second her motion.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and guys, to the days, we appreciate your coming to us, and again, we appreciate the whole situation, but we've got our rules we got to try to enforce. But I do appreciate your coming tonight, and I hope we enjoyed it, everybody. But with that, basically, Levi can explain to you what to come next for you in the process here. Levi.
Sure. So yes, you'll be getting an email with your certificate of appropriateness that will kind of outline those conditions that were just read. You'll get those email from staff probably by the end of this week. So that will and that'll be permits division will be copied on that. So that'll kind of give you your clearance to apply for building permits. So that'll be the next step.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I guess we have. We're gonna be about ready. We're pretty much done, aren't we, for the year? I'm excited that everything that is wrapping up for this year, so this year needs to be over. But I guess who are we missing tonight?
Well, David.
Dave, is that okay? Well, Taylor, this is your last one. You got to relax in front of, I guess, is that a fireplace and TV for your last? I can't hear you. You're muted. Still muted. Aaron, can you help him out? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been a little cold outside.
Yeah. Well, I've probably been on here with you longer than anybody else, but I do appreciate all your time you've put to this. I do. It's been, gosh, is this your second term or did you get melded in?
Well,
before?
second and a half. It's been 6.5 years.
Okay. So you've got a lot of tick marks on the side. It's, again, I do appreciate it from all of us. If anybody else say anything they want, but I do appreciate your service, and I think you can be off a year and come back. Isn't that right, Levi?
I believe that's correct. I'd have to.
So we could, if you want to talk next year, we'll be happy to talk. I've had very few people do that, but
You're a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
Possible.
No, but we do appreciate it, and we'll be meeting every 4th Monday. So tune in if you want, but we won't be offended if you don't. But again, just keep doing what you've been doing in the neighborhood, though, and we do appreciate that part too. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks.
We'll see you. I guess unless anybody has anything else, I'll take a motion to do something else, which is go eat supper.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
I also
I'll
second
second.
that one.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
All right, all those in favor?
Happy New Year.
Go. I guess, and we'll contact everybody about the little primer meeting with the 2 new ones. If you want to join, not required, but it'd just be a little discussion. But if James can coordinate that, or Levi, y'all coordinate that, let me know when we can.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be seeing an email come out.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I hope that next year is so much better than this past year in every way that you can imagine.
I second that as well.
I'm looking forward to 2021 being a word I don't mind saying. So y'all take care. Hope Christmas is good and Happy New Year.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.